Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen threatens to sue the school because her kid got low grades. After that, how I got even with a crappy former coworker that wanted to spread rumors. And after that, need me to adhere to the dress code right now? Enjoy the fallout. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen loses in court. Not with my lawyer, I won't. So please smash that like button, and if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen threatens to sue the school because her kid got low grades. So I work in a small retail store and have enough entitled stories to fill a book, but this story is from my last year of senior school. Year 11 in the UK, 16 years old. As per, we've got Emma, my friend, we've got entitled kid, and we've got entitled mom. Some context. In year 11, we tend to do our final exams in June and don't get our results back until the August, which makes for a very nerve-wracking summer. In our school, we had 4 classes for each core subject, math, English, and science, with set 1 being the top set for the highest achieving students and set 4 being the lowest set. I had a pretty tight-knit group of friends, but one of our friends, let's just call her Emma for this story, also hung out with another group sometimes. Emma was a smart girl, but struggled with self-confidence and often panicked in exams, which landed her in set 3 for most subjects. This is where entitled kid comes into it. She hung out with Emma's other group of friends, but it was an unstable group with lots of arguments and making up on a daily basis. We were 16 at the time, so this was pretty immature. Entitled kid was smart and in set 1 for everything, but didn't let anyone forget about it and would cry to the teacher if she had forgotten homework or got a bad mark, less than an A. But the worst thing about entitled kid was her nightmare entitled mom. If anyone disagreed with entitled kid or contradicted her, she would tell entitled mom that she was being bullied. Entitled mom was also very involved in the school, so none of the teachers ever wanted to get involved if entitled kid was in the wrong. There are so many stories I could tell, but here's the one that I remember the most. It was the end of August, results day. We'd been dreading getting our exams back all summer, and it was finally the time to open those brown envelopes. Most people were there with their parents, either smiling or crying over their grades. I was pretty happy with how I had done, but of course, entitled kid and entitled mom wouldn't stop bragging over entitled kid's grades. In truth, entitled kid did really well, but it was insensitive to the people who didn't do so well. Here's where Emma comes back into the story. She opened her envelope and smiled the biggest smile I'd ever seen. Emma, I got an A in English. Considering she was in set 3, who usually struggled to rack up a C, we were so happy for her, and her parents were ecstatic. Entitled kid, however, just snatched her paper and looked over it. Entitled kid, this is wrong. Emma, no, this is my paper. We were all staring at entitled kid in disgust, but entitled mom just strolled over and looked over Emma's paper. She took the paper and walked over to the English teacher. Entitled mom, yeah, excuse me. Emma has the wrong paper. These aren't her grades. Teacher, the exam board takes a lot of care making these. It couldn't have been a mistake. Entitled mom, are you saying that she got an A in English? Teacher, yes, that's right. Is there a problem? Entitled kid only got an A. That's not possible. She's in set 1, and she's the best at English this year. The teacher didn't know what to say, and Emma looked close to tears. Entitled mom, take her grade away. Entitled kid deserves that A more than Emma. Teacher, everyone got back what they put into the work. You can't change the mark. You have to. If you don't, then I'll sue the school for meddling with exam scores. By then, everyone was watching as the teacher stepped closer to entitled mom. Teacher, first of all, if entitled kid didn't do as well as she wanted, she can retake English in college next year. But she can't. Second, stick to your own kid's grades. You have no business looking at Emma's grades and deciding what she did or didn't work for. And good luck suing the school. We don't mark the exams. You'll have to take it up with the exam board. The entitled mom looked more shocked than a deer caught in headlights. Teacher, you've got your grades. Leave now. Realizing that everyone was watching her, entitled mom grabbed entitled kid's hand and dragged her back to the car. Fortunately, entitled kid left to go to a different college than the rest of us, but we still laugh about it from time to time. What was your favorite class when you were in school? Please let us know. Lunch was always my favorite subject. How I got even with a crappy former coworker that wanted to spread rumors. Okay, So I was recommended to post this story to this sub. I'm going to be honest, there are no saints in this story. There's no good guy or bad guy. I felt I was wronged and I got revenge. That said, let me give y'all some backstory and get to the good stuff we're all here for. I worked as a security guard for a few years at a factory. My last year, I had made site supervisor and ran the guard booth. We were contractors. Our contract was simple. We made sure everyone who comes in is logged, watch the cameras, call bigwigs to pick up their visitors. Every now and then we did a walkthrough or some paperwork. Simple, and it leaves you with a lot of relative downtime depending on your shift. During my tenure, I made a few friends, a few enemies, and got along with most of the people working there. It's surprisingly easy to investigate incidents when people like talking with you. One of the enemies I made was a supervisor. Let's call him Ted. Ted had worked his way up from a line worker and felt that since he had made his way from nothing, he deserved his ego. He had squared himself firmly against anyone he couldn't control, and I never gave him his due. We all know his type. Now, Ted treated his line workers pretty poorly, and more than a few came to me to report his misconduct. One of our duties was to log any of these complaints as an incident report, submit a copy to the factory admin, submit a copy to our company, and then file the original. Ted had his own folder in that drawer. Ted did not like this. Ted did not like me. At the start of lockdown, we lost most of our staff in the booth. We were down to 3 guards trying to cover a 24/7 schedule. We did a lot of 12-hour shifts starting from March, going all the way to October when I left. My company struggled to fill the missing spots, hiring 2 guards during that period. Neither lasted more than 2 weeks. October came, I was burnt. Then both my remaining guards quit. I don't blame them in the least. I immediately turned in my 2 weeks and refused to work more than 12 hours a day. After I turned in my notice, my company scrambled to replace me and the missing guards. They got my replacement at the start of my last week, and she started on a Sunday. I trained her for 1 day, and she never came back. I discovered on my last day she had claimed that I intimidated her and made her feel uncomfortable. She told my boss she didn't feel safe around me. Now, I was livid at this. I have never mixed business and pleasure. I'm a big guy. I work out. I have never had those intentions at work. It was a major joke anywhere I've worked because my tagline has always been, I don't crap where I eat. I was burned out. I had an amazing woman I am now dating who was coming out to see me in 2 weeks. I had spent hours training this woman. I had her scheduled during my shift for the entire week so I could walk her through everything to do with the job. I had squared off with the factory admin to keep it that way. I was doing everything I could to help her because she was coming into a major mess. Admin was looking for a different contractor. Supervisors were trying to access our files. We had tons of sensitive information that would have let anybody move up the ladder quick, or at least remove a lot of competition. It was chaos. At this point, I hadn't had a day off or a good night's sleep in 3 months, and the boss I had only ever talked to over the phone had arrived in person to tell me this crap. I had almost been terminated over this on my last week. If I didn't have the work ethic my father taught me, I would have walked out then and there. I finished my day and walked away, never intending to think of that job again. Now, the story should end here, but it didn't, and this is the juicy part y'all are hankering for. See, after I left, a few friends kept me up to date on the going-ons. My replacement came back for a day and then quit, citing the long hours would keep her away from her kid. I was salty, but it's not my problem. Until a few days ago. See, Ted had found out about her allegations and began spreading rumors I had been terminated for harassment. He then told people that I was a serial harasser and had caused a former employee to quit as well. She had left as I had gotten the site supervisor job over her. I had seniority and she had a dirty disciplinary record. She had a few incidents that had nearly gotten her fired. I didn't like this, especially given that 2/3 of the incident reports I had on Ted were for harassment. What Ted didn't know is that I don't like being messed with. While I'm quiet and unassumingly, I had plenty of time to build my MAD folders. Little personal history. When I was a computer tech, I had been royally done over and nearly fired by my then boss. He gave me directives that were a violation of company policy, bad enough that when they came to light, I was given an immediate final written warning. Since I had no proof he told me to do what I did, I shouldered full blame. Since that day, I've created mutually assured destruction folders, MAD folders, on anyone that I felt would try to do me over. Ted was one such person. All the originals of my folders are kept hidden in online storage and most are never touched. but Ted upset me and was threatening my future job prospects. Reputation is everything, so I opened his folder. I had access to the camera system at the factory. Folks, small-town factories are disgusting. People do crap you wouldn't believe. One really popular thing is to hook up in the parking lot. Ted had built a little harem for himself by giving better line positions to employees that hooked up with him, and I had pictures and video. I made a nice little folder with some choice clips and stills. Then I sent them to his wife and his oldest daughter. Dude is 20-ish years married with 4 daughters, 2 in college, one graduating in a year or 2. No clue what happened there, but I doubt it's going well for him. And that wasn't the end. I wasn't satisfied. This never would have been a thing if that replacement hadn't used me as an excuse to duck and run. I told y'all, there's no saints here. During her one day of training, my replacement had asked me about cell phones with good cameras and a bunch of weird policy questions. A few careful questions, and lo and behold, she has an OnlyFans. I warned her that this was a huge violation of our contract with our company, and any type of this work is forbidden, as the company has clients in Vegas and some European countries where that is legal and doesn't want any workers moonlighting. The company is incredibly strict on that. Strict to the point I could have terminated her on the spot. They are impartial. Man or woman, it is not tolerated. Thinking on this and being very irate, I track it down, and she was nice enough to have her links on her premium Snap. I bundle this and send it to 3 groups: my previous employer, the IRS, and her ex. She had been in a protracted custody battle with him, and our state is a little conservative. Judges here do not look favorably on these workers. Most are prejudiced against them, and I just gave her ex evidence of this work and possibly tax fraud. If his lawyer can't get at least split custody, no child support, that's on the ex for being a piece of crap. So that's my story. Let me know if y'all feel this is pro-revenge or not, because honestly, I'm not sure if it went far enough. Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate this revenge? Please let us know. Probably like a 12 to be honest, dang. Need me to adhere to the dress code right now? Enjoy the fallout. I was reminded of this story from my work by one of my coworkers. It's been maybe 5 to 7 years since this happened. Where I work, there's a semi-strict dress code that needs to be adhered to so we look presentable when going to customers' houses. The minor details are more or less negotiable depending on who's our manager that day. We have a normal manager we see almost daily, but if he's off or it's a weekend, somebody else subs in. The day this happened was a Saturday and our regular manager was off, so the duty manager for the day happened to be Mr. Jerk, whom no one liked, and he made it his life goal to make all the techs miserable. When we walked in the door, we had to pass through the manager's office to get to our meeting area. My coworker, Tim, name changed, walked in the door that was to the manager's office with everything looking right on his uniform but his shirt untucked. The following conversation took place. Mr. Jerk: "Your shirt should be tucked in." Tim: "Absolutely, and I will do that when I set my gear down and go to the bathroom." Mr. Jerk: "No, you need to show up for work ready to work, not show up and get ready on my time." Tim: "Okay, let me set my stuff down and I'll go right to the bathroom and tuck it in for you." "No, you're going to tuck it in right now before you walk another step into my building." Tim: "Right now?" Mr. Jerk: "Right now." So my coworker did as instructed, unbuttoned his pants and pulled them all the way down to his ankles and proceeded to smooth out his shirt, and then reached all the way down and pulled his pants all the way back up and rebuttoned them. From there, he immediately walked outside and called the HR hotline and told them his manager on duty just forced him to do all this and wouldn't allow him to go to the bathroom to tuck his shirt in. That he felt weird and uncomfortable to be around Mr. Jerk and didn't know if he had any ulterior motives. None of us are privy to what exactly happened from that phone call on, but we do know that he got laterally moved from being a tech manager to the safety team where he was no longer in charge of any subordinates. I'll make an edit to iron out some details or important things I forgot. Our job is very much union-based, and as such, the union book is the law of the land, so language and actions have to be very specific as to not draw ire from the union nor the business. Tim was raised in a union household by someone who was very involved in their union, so he has a very keen knowledge on how to manipulate things well within the trappings of the union handbook. He did this whole thing not next to the boss's desk, but within line of sight of the door coming in, and the door to the meeting room, so there were visual witnesses from the meeting room and people who trickled into work behind him who literally walked through the entire ordeal. So there were plenty of witnesses to corroborate. Am I the jerk for directly calling out a woman's snobbish behavior, causing several people to leave our knitting group? So one thing I can't stand is snobby people who act like the only way to do things is their way. It's a huge thing in knitting groups. People act high and mighty because of how they learned, the yarn they use, knitting being better than crocheting, etc., etc. I hated the energy in a lot of existing groups, so I started my own. We switched to virtual stuff since lockdown started, and I have rules that you have to agree to follow before you can join. One of the rules is to be kind to others and absolutely no snob behavior. Everything has been going great, except this pre-existing group of friends joined, and they really pushed the boundaries of the aforementioned rule. They started dipping their toe with comments about acrylic yarn and how they would never use it, with dramatic, icky faces. Well, they did this again when a new girl joined the group. She was using an acrylic yarn in her project. One of the women asked her what she was using, and then the little clique acted like they weren't directly remarking while obviously doing it. This is kind of hard to explain, but if you've ever had to deal with mean girls, you know what I'm talking about. It was like, I just don't understand how people are still using acrylic yarn these days. I mean, there are so many other options. Unless you're still shopping at big box stores instead of indies. In the middle of the rant, I was just like, hey guys, let's remember that we're not here to judge anyone for what they're using or how they're using it, okay? Well, this upset the group because they started arguing with me about how nobody was judging anyone. And, oh, so I can't even have an opinion now? And, why are you trying to censor us? We're having a conversation. If someone doesn't like it, they can leave. I muted everyone and said something like, the rules for this group are very clear and you have to acknowledge them before you join the call. If there's an issue, we can talk about it after. The women all ended up leaving the group, and I got a bunch of nasty emails and tags on a few social media posts calling me out for being pro-censorship and a tyrant, and saying how I shouldn't be in charge of anything because of how obviously biased I am. I don't think I'm in the wrong for this. My rules exist to make things welcoming for others. Sitting around putting down other people does not feel like it's very welcoming, especially for snobby crap like they were doing. Am I the jerk? Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk, or are the Karens in her group? Please let us know. Tell the Karens to start their own group. Then they can wonder why no one wants to join them. You're right, I don't work here. But you're wrong, because I do work here. So I work for a company that sells backup power sources for both residential and commercial customers. My job is to go into big box stores and set up displays and represent my company while trying to get potential leads. I'm not an employee of any of these stores, but I technically work there when my show is there. Now that you know what I do, here's the story. Characters. We've got me. We've got employee. We've got manager. And of course, Karen. A few months back, about 3 months into the lockdown, I came to the store I was working at that particular week. Now normally I go in through the back, but the back door was closed and locked. So I went around front as I had just remembered they started the senior/disabled only shop hour. There's a crowd of younger people sitting outside waiting to be let in. Now, I am 30 years old. I'm wearing my business suit and store vendor name tag, so employee let me go straight in with no questions asked. I was also holding part of my display, so clearly going into work. I see a lady, and she, like most of these outside, looked a little annoyed. Suddenly I hear someone yell, "Hey, how come they get to go in and we don't?" I turn, and it was the lady, Karen. I'm thinking she just didn't see my name tag. So I turn around to face her so she can see it and say, I work here. No, you don't. You don't have a store badge, Karen yells. I pull my lanyard up to show her my name tag and say, you're right, it's a vendor badge for this store. Employee also backs me up by telling her I do work at that store. Karen then proclaims that I have no right to be there since I don't look disabled and am clearly not over 65. I just at that point start to walk away and she attempts to follow me in. The employee steps in her way and tells Karen to go back outside. She pushes him. I saw this out of the corner of my eye, so to try and de-escalate the situation, I stop and say, ma'am, I have 2 things that allow me to be here during the shop early hour. One is my vendor badge, the other is my disability card. I show her my card my county issued to me. Now, wait for it. She yells, I want to see the manager. Employee radio calls for manager and politely asks her to wait for manager outside, to which her response is, no, I want to see the manager now. They aren't supposed to be here. By this time, Karen is making enough ruckus to get other waiting customers to defend us. She still waits inside. Manager comes over and asks what the problem is. She tells him how I am not supposed to be here, that I don't work for his store, and I'm faking my disability, which he is aware of in case of emergencies at work. He explains to Karen that she is right and wrong. I don't work for his store, but I do work at his store, and I have every right to be there during the senior and disability only hour. He also asks her to get out of the store until the full open. She refuses again and demands he have me removed. At this point, he now tells her that she can either leave willingly or have her removed by police. He also tells me to go ahead and head to my station since I now have 10 minutes to set up a display that normally takes me 30 minutes to set up. I do just that. About an hour later, I realize I forgot a cable in my car and need to go get it. I go out and see a police officer leaning over the passenger window of his cruiser. He's telling her that she can either leave quietly now or he can take her to jail. She sees me and is livid. Priceless. The officer took her to jail. She was charged with criminal trespass and disturbing the peace. Am I the jerk for not giving a bully's mom a promotion? I am a 27-year-old male that works for a mid-sized company in my hometown. After college, I moved back home to help my mom get back on her feet after my dad passed, and I was hired on with my current company and rose up fairly quickly through the ranks. Last year, my younger sister was having some issues at school with some girls bullying her, and my mom was going through the school trying to get it to stop. One day, things got out of hand, and one of the girls tossed my sister's clothes into the shower room during gym and turned all of them on. I left work to take my sister some clothes because my mom was at a medical appointment and I saw a coworker at the school. When my sister got home, she told me that the bully always has something mean to say or do. It turns out that the coworker had also left to pick up her daughter because she was the one who tossed the clothes in the shower room. She saw me leaving with my sister and approached me the next day at work to apologize. I sent human resources and my boss an email regarding the incident and didn't think anything else from it. We had a position in management open up 3 weeks ago, and she, along with 2 others, were up for the job. I interviewed 2 out of 3 as HR didn't think it would be wise for me to interview her, and I agreed. At the end of the week, my boss and I got together to see where we stood on the decision, and he asked why I couldn't sit in on her interview. I reminded him of the last incident, and that was that. We ended up going with one of the other employees, and my boss remarked to me that her failure in her home certainly didn't help. I guess I should feel bad about that, but honestly, I don't. The woman approached me after work while I was going to my car and asked if her daughter's past action was an issue and the deciding factor, and I told her that she should speak to our manager and HR if she felt it was a biased interview, but gave her a little grin after. Am I the jerk? Edit. I didn't want this to go on for so long, so I won't be replying anymore. Like some of you said, the adults here agree with me other than my grin. I can accept that. I think the best action here would be to have her transferred to another position under someone else. The hours are similar, so that way it stays fair. Thanks for your time and feedback. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. Oh, I can't wait to see what our audience thinks of this one. You want all the yellow flowers we have? No problem. It's that time of year for flower shops, and I recently saw a guest who hasn't been to the shop since the events of this story from a couple of years ago. I was freshly cross-trained onto the sales floor of my flower shop and had just started answering the phones by the registers. Incoming phone calls from guests are set up to go to the phone center's lines first, but forward to the floor if no one answers. I was the lucky one to answer a particular grumpy regular we'll call May. May already had issues with me because I was new, and I had issues with her because I don't let people walk all over me, customer or not. She also was generally a problematic customer. I was just her current target for being new. The phone call goes something like this. Me. Local flower shop. This is Potato speaking. How may I help you? May. Potato? No, I need someone else. Me. I'm sorry, no one else is available. A lie, but no one was near a phone. How can I help you, May? May. I need yellow flowers. What kind of flowers? Just yellow flowers. Are you so slow you don't know what yellow flowers are? Me. Well, we have a large selection of You know what? Just give me all of them. All of them? Are you deaf? Yes, all of them. And charge it to my card on file so I can just grab them and go. At this point, I wave over the sales manager and switch the call to speaker so he can hear it. Me. Okay, so just clarifying, May, that you want all of the yellow flowers we have in stock. And yes, and charge it to my card. I've wasted enough time talking to you about it. I don't want to wait for my receipt at the counter. I'll be there in 2 hours. I raise an eyebrow at the sales manager. He gives me a bewildered thumbs up and head nod, and I tell her we'll have it ready. Sales manager and I then proceed to pull roses, spray roses, snapdragons, literally hundreds of bunches of flowers. We are the biggest florist in the state, and we get the mums in boxes of 24 and never less than 15 boxes a week. So that honestly took up the majority of it. The entire time, sales manager is saying how May will never actually take all of this, but he doesn't like people sassing off to his coworkers, so he was more than willing to play along. He did have the foresight to not charge her card, as when we finished ringing everything up, it came to a whopping $1,000 plus order. Between the two of us and some helping hands here and there, some of the other sales clerks learned what happened. It took a good portion of those 2 hours to get everything together, and sales manager had to leave before we were finished to handle a different matter. May comes in, already glaring at me, and asks where her order is. I smile at her and gesture the 20 or so buckets of yellow flowers surrounding the pickup area. It honestly looked like a display, we had so many buckets. While she's doing her best imitation of a suffocating fish, I tell her as nicely as possible, I just wanted to check that you wanted this order charged to one card since $1,000 is a lot of money. You could hear her brain short circuit before she went beet red and said, "This isn't what I meant. Where is sales manager?" I call him over on the radio, and sure enough, as soon as he comes over, he's asking May if we pulled enough yellow flowers and that we had more coming in early tomorrow morning if she wanted them. She starts stuttering about how this isn't what she ordered and how incompetent Potato is, etc. Until sales manager says, "Potato confirmed with you that you wanted all of the yellow flowers in stock, and these are all of the yellow flowers in stock. If you wanted specific flowers or quantities, you would have had to specify those with our sales clerk when placing your order." At this point, she grabs an armful of daisies and some roses and stomps off to the registers. The store got a rather nasty email with me mentioned by name about my incompetency and rude behavior, but sales manager corroborated my side of the story. Camera showed I at least appeared nothing but friendly the whole interaction, and the number of other incidents regarding this particular guest basically ended with an "If you can't be nice to our workers, don't shop here" responding email. We were scolded for wasting 2 hours when we knew she wouldn't take all of it, and there were other things to do. But we did exactly what the customer said, so not much else happened repercussion-wise. A goddess among guests. I checked in a guest. Let's call her Angel since she is one. She was sweet right off the boat. She tells me about her life and how she is a foster mother and how she has adopted most of her kids. I gush over her and her inspiring life choices. Then she thanks me and leaves to get settled in. While this is transpiring, another guest I had checked in earlier comes up to the desk looking upset. I know exactly why. When she was checking in, she had lied about how many people were in her room, and my manager on duty caught them. They were told about our capacity limit per room and how they would have to purchase another room if they wanted to stay. 2 adults, 6 kids, but our cap is 5 people per regular room and 6 for suites. I released the hold on her card and canceled her reservation. I apologized and reiterated that I had to follow policy. She left, looking defeated. 10 minutes later, Angel walks up to the front desk. Me. "Hey, welcome back. What can I do for you?" Angel. "Do you have any adjoining rooms available?" Me. "I'd have to check, but we should." "Great. If you do, I'd like to buy a room for the lady that just left with all those kids." Me. "That is the sweetest thing. You don't have to do that, but you are welcome to if you'd like." She leaves and goes outside to tell the mother of the 6 kids she can pay for the room, while I am standing dumbstruck at the desk. They come back in and ask for the price of the rooms. I let Angel know that she will be responsible for any extra charges and fees accrued if the room is trashed, and that I can continue with the reservation process if she is comfortable and understands this. She is, and we continue. The mother of 6, I could tell, felt so grateful. She said she wanted to celebrate her son's birthday, but how it's hard to find places that accept that many people. It made my night, her night, and her kids' night. They only wanted to swim and enjoy a 5-year-old's birthday. It may not seem like much, but the kindness of a stranger after a dumpster fire year really made me feel like there is hope for all of us yet. Update. The family left and the room was not trashed. I spoke with my GM about it, and she will speak to the manager on duty about it. Thank you to everyone who has shown this post love. I'm glad I was able to brighten some days with this story. Please come watch this video next, you will love it. And if you support our channel by joining as a member today, we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And did you know you can have us make any kind of video you'd like us to? Just come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.